Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Race Weekend, Canada's F1 podcast. I'm your host, Dames Nellas, joined by team manager for Pro Racing Ontario, Darryl Timmers. What did we watch yesterday?
I don't know, man. That was wild. That was one of the craziest races I've ever seen.
Okay, in all seriousness, yeah, you know, Lando Norris, it sucks. Esteban Ocon, great job. It sucks that you got pipped at the line. Now that we have that out the way, let's get on to the real time.
Exactly.
Okay, so here we are. Race recap. Lewis Hamilton, P1.
Yeah.
Max Verstappen, P2. Valtteri Bottas, P3.
Yeah, just at the line.
Just at the line. Now, that is the traditional podium result over the past however many years, but this one was very different. Where do we actually want to start? Do we want to start in FP2?
Yeah.
Because of the Leclerc
thing, yeah.
Do we want to start in qualify?
We might as well start in FP2 just to kind of lay the base to what
lay the land.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll paint this picture as we go. FP2, cars are out there pushing the limit. They're basically getting their racing data for the weekend. And Leclerc puts it into the wall.
Yep. Now,
there's an immediate red flag.
Yeah. The biggest thing that they're trying to do with F1 now is safety. Everything is safety. So when they see Leclerc going to the wall like that and they get to the scene, if any of those barriers are punctured, they have to replace it right away. So they'll red flag it. Okay, let's fix this and then see if we can get back out. So I think right call, no problem. It's FP2. It's a big shunt because that was a really big hit by Leclerc.
To that point, it was the biggest hit of the weekend.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So they've got to red flag it. They have to fix the barriers. It is what it is.
Leclerc jumps out. He's all good. They repair the Ferrari. He's on the grid for qualifying.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go to qualifying.
Yeah.
It looked like Max had the fastest car.
Yes.
Lewis Hamilton was competing.
Yep.
But in the end, Max put together that final lap. And it wasn't for that last corner.
Yes.
Man, that was a flyer.
That was a lap for the history books, I would say, if he completed it. But he didn't. But that car was definitely set up to get in front of Lewis in qualifying. They wanted to make sure that he was on pole so he can control the race and not Lewis. And for him, you know, he was flying. Like, that was a lap. Like, he was on the edge. He almost crashed coming out of 2. He almost hit the wall a couple other times. Like, everyone was watching that lap with like, like those oh my gosh moments, because it was so on the edge and he did not leave anything on the table. And when you're at that, you know, peak of the fastest you can get around the track, your, you know, smallest mistake, like what happened into the last corner, it's going to cost you. And
so what did happen in the last corner? Did he just overcook the corner, blow the braking zone?
I think he just went in a little bit deeper than he usually does, locked up that tire, and that was it. As soon as you lock it up and you're on that you need the rotation of the tire to slow down instead of the lockup where the tire slides across the top of the surface. If it slides across the top, you can take your shoes and rub your feet against the concrete, and it's the same type of thing. You feel that slide, and it doesn't have as much grip. But if you're physically slowing the rotation of the tire down, it's peak pressure on the brake, and you're going to get the maximum amount of brake force into the tire.
Put us into that final sector. He knows he's flying, but he knows he's up on his delta and his dashboard as well. So he knows he's going faster than he went in the last session or the last time out. But does he know where the mark is in order for him to achieve that? Like, basically what I'm getting at is, could he have saved or taken it off just a little bit going into that final quarter and still achieve pole? Or is it just happening too fast? You can't distract anybody at that point.
At that point, you're in your zone. The team's never going to disrupt you on your qualifying lap. They know you're in a zone. You know you have to hit your marks, and if a team doesn't talk to you at the right time when you're on the track, it can startle you and take you off your game. So the team would have never said anything, but he does have a delta on his steering wheel to tell him how fast he is going or what time he's at. At that point, you know, when you're at that high level of performance in such a sport like this, you're never going to want to, you know, back down a little bit, because when you back down, you know, you don't know exactly what's going to, you know, what's going to happen when you hit the brake here. And you know what's going to happen when you hit the brake here and hits the brake here. But if you back down, you're going to have to brake a little earlier or lift off a little earlier and get you out of your rhythm. So that's just going to end up, you know, throwing you off your lap time. So yes, in the grand scheme of things, he could have backed down to be like, okay, I just got to get through this last corner. Let's just back it up a bit. But at that point, you're in such a zone that you're like, I feel it. Everything's on point. I got this. You're nailing it. You're up 4 to 5 tenths going into the corner.
He was nailing it.
Yeah.
He was nailing it. And so basically what you're getting at is he was nailing it. There was no need to back out of it until
he was in his zone. And then at that point, if you blow the corner like that, he just kind of got on the throttle on exit and slapped it into the wall.
That was the other thing, right? So let's say he was up a half a second.
Yeah.
You realize you blow the corner. All he had to do was literally kind of just back out of it to rotate the car.
Yeah.
But it almost looked like he just kind of wanted to power through it or oversteer it through, and it didn't quite get there.
Exactly.
It was marginal, maybe 6 inches, and he would have saved it.
Yeah.
Because at the end they didn't have to replace the gearbox or the diff or anything like that, so it wasn't.
It was a wishbone hit.
It was very, very close. It was a cracker of a lap, but you got to finish the lap. So moving forward, Lewis Hamilton starts P1. Valtteri Bottas starts P2, Max starts P3. So Mercedes lock it out on qualifying.
Yeah.
And you got to think at that point they set their car up for race as opposed to set it up for qualifying. They're pretty confident going into the race on Sunday. And when the lights went out, it was a Mercedes 1-2.
Yeah.
Easy. They walked away with it.
They were in control. They had Valtteri in between him and Lewis and Max.
Yeah.
So in the end, they had the control over the race, and at that point, Red Bull didn't have the pace to get by the Mercedes, but the Mercedes had the pace to just slowly pull away from the Red Bull, right? So in the end, if everything stayed that way and everything after didn't happen, they had that in the bag, no problem.
But things did happen. This is why we discuss FP2. Mick Schumacher ended up putting the wall in the same barrier as Leclerc did on Friday, and initially there was a safety car.
Yes. And
why not a red flag right away?
Because they're gonna, like I said, it's all about safety. They have to assess the impact of the car and what it did to the barrier. When Mick went in, they can't see from television coverage to see what happened to the barriers, how big of an impact to the barriers it was. Yes, they can kind of see how fast he was going into the wall, but sometimes the barriers take it, nothing happens, they push it back out, everything's fine. In that case, the barrier was damaged, so they're not gonna just go, okay, we'll fix it later, because if someone does the exact same thing that Leclerc and Mick did, they're gonna go straight into that same barrier. And if that barrier isn't 100% safe or fixed and it has some damage to it, there's a risk of damaging or hurting the driver in the next impact. Right. So they're not going to take that risk and be like, you know what, we'll just patch it up and send them out. Because this track, there's really no runoff anywhere. So if you make a mistake, there's going to be a big shot.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We'll get to that later.
But, if there's not a lot of runoff, and when stuff goes wrong, you're hitting the wall. There's a couple of times that Alonso and Sainz saved it somehow, which was somehow
Seb too.
They all saved it. But when you're at a high speed corner like that, where I believe it's fifth gear, and you just kind of trail the brake a little bit and turn in, it's a very high speed corner. And if they see that it's a high speed corner, and if someone and the barrier is damaged, they know if someone goes in there's a good possibility that they're going to damage the barrier even more and cause injury to the driver.
So a couple laps later, red flag is out.
Yes.
Now this happens after Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, among others, come into the pits to change their tires. Max doesn't. Max once again has track position now.
Yes.
He's P1.
Yeah.
Okay. So that all happened. Then they throw the red flag, which means Max now has the chance to change his tires for free.
Yeah.
So we get a whole different complexion for the second start of the race.
Yeah.
Which is Max P1.
Yep.
Lewis P2.
No.
Was it?
No, it was Max P1. Yeah, Lewis P2, and then it was Ocon.
It wasn't Ocon.
No, because it wasn't.
It might have been, but anyway.
There's so many restarts that I'm trying to
we're trying to think
this
through now. I should have made some notes here. Anyhow, what we need to realize is this: Lewis had the lead. Red flag gets thrown. Now he doesn't have the lead anymore, and Max gets a new set of tires as well. So they restart the race again. Going into turn one, Lewis got the drop on Max off the start with the hard tires, might I add. What happens?
Max knows that he needs to get around Lewis. That's what happens. He went for it. He knows, if I let Lewis ahead of me, that's it. I can't keep up with Lewis. I can get by him maybe if at the first lap or two, but once Lewis gets into the rhythm, that's it. He's checking out. So Max is, all right, well, let's full send mode and send it around the outside, and hey, it is what it is. Max there was not a chance that Max was making that corner around the outside. And the fact that they allowed, that, oh, I got pushed wide, and no, you weren't going to make the corner anyways. You went in so deep that you were hoping that you were able to get to Lewis on the inside for the right-hander, and I feel he was not even close to making that corner, and he just went in so deep that he's like, I'm just going to use the runoff, get ahead of him over the curb, and it was kind of like a spur-of-the-moment, premeditated thing where he was like, I'm going in, I'm going to I'm going to try to hang around the outside, hold the inside for the right-hander, but he was already off track at that point, and he went straight over the curb. If he had maybe shortcutted the track to be like, oh no, I blew the corner where everyone else is gone, and turn to the right and get over there.
Yeah. But he just kind of went straight
Yeah, he just went straight and was just like, all right, I don't care. See you guys later.
Okay, so this left the door open for Esteban Ocon to get in front of Lewis Hamilton. So it's Max P1, Ocon P2, Hamilton P3. This is the restart. Now, literally, the next corner, there's a massive pileup. Perez is sideways.
Yeah.
Mazepin runs into the back of Russell.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Red flag. Yeah.
Red flag.
Track is blocked. Red flag.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go again.
Yeah.
This time, however, FIA is involved. Radios are going back and forth to the team.
Which is weird.
Michael Massey comes on the radio and presents a deal or no deal game show scenario to Red Bull.
Yeah.
Which is
weird in the end because not a lot of officials will do that. It's like, no, go and do this. It's not, hey, we're giving you the opportunity to take this or nothing.
Right.
Which I think it was more like, okay, you take this, we start racing, you are getting a penalty. So take this now or you are getting a penalty later. So I think when he's like, you take this deal or it goes to the stewards, which means you better go back to your P3 starting position or it's going to the race stewards. So now, at that point, they restart the race. If Max is in the front, now he has to either come in for a time penalty or he's going to have to let Lewis by, which Ocon's in between them, so he has to go to third now. And Lewis is not going to take long to get by Ocon. So now you're going to have a chance of being delayed by 2 cars to get back to the front again. And they're like, okay, take the penalty now, and we can start P3 on Lewis's bumper.
Which we'll discuss later.
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. Esteban Ocon leading the race. The second restart.
Yeah.
Hamilton is in P2, Max is in P3. Lights go out, they go into corner 1. Max makes a brilliant move.
Yeah,
let's call a spade a spade.
A great lunge.
That was
a great lunge.
But he pulled it off.
Yeah.
And he did it with the medium tires, which was another strategy thing that they went for. It was a great move.
Yeah.
It was a great move.
Yep.
I'll say that. And he's leading the race, and Lewis is applying the pressure.
Yeah.
And he's applying the pressure, and he finally gets into that DRS window.
Yeah.
Okay, down the main straight. Now Lewis goes around the outside, corner 1.
Yeah.
What happens?
Well, let's go back to that restart first of all.
Okay, let's do it.
Because that was, yes, it was a great lunge, but it was a lunge.
It was a
lunge from behind. And at that point, Max has nothing to lose.
Okay, stop right there.
Yeah.
Let's explain it. He has nothing to lose because
at this point, he's leading the championship by 8 points. He has more wins than Hamilton, so they can crash out of both races and he will get the championship. So he has nothing to lose at this point. He can go and dive underneath Lewis, and Lewis is going to have to back out because Lewis has everything to lose.
Lewis backed out of it so much so that he hit Ocon.
Yeah, exactly. So at that point, yes, Max is driving with nothing to lose. And that's how he was making these moves. And that now this turn 1 pass, Lewis cleared him. And he just went, nope, let's just not a chance of making this corner. I'm going straight again.
Timeout.
Yep.
Before we get to the incident.
Yes.
Brazil.
Yep.
Corner 4. There was a lot of talk about what's clear and what's unclear post-Brazilian Grand Prix. Did the FIA create a monster in Max Verstappen by not reprimanding him for essentially doing the exact same thing that he did this weekend in Saudi?
I think so, and the only reason I think that is because Max is still young and learning all these things and this is his first time that he's battling punch for punch, blow for blow for a championship. So when Max gets into something like this, his sorry to say, his immaturity, or not immaturity, but his drive to win the championship is going to be be all and end all. I'm going for it. So at this point, I think, because he got away with it in Brazil, he's like, well, I'll just do it again. They didn't penalize me there, so they can't penalize me here if I do the exact same thing.
Let's get to the incident now.
Yes.
Let's get to because I have questions about the incident, okay? Leading up to this incident, as well as that overtake, there were virtual safety car after virtual safety car after virtual safety car. It's a tricky track, no runoff, debris, a couple people spun. There was contact with Raikkonen and Vettel. So there was a lot of stuff on the track and things were happening. When I first saw this, because they had the onboard angle of Lewis closing in on Max, two things happened right away. First thing I said was, here's another virtual safety car, because they were happening in succession.
Yeah.
And then the second thing I said was, no, he's closing too quickly. Something's wrong with Verstappen's car.
Yeah.
And then I found out neither of those were true.
Yeah.
Why didn't Hamilton just pass him on track?
I think he was confused, to be honest. I think, one, he was confused. Why was Max slowing so much? Because at that point, he didn't know that Max was letting him by. But two, I think, honestly, I honestly don't know. I think if, at that point, he's so cautious about trying to pass Max that when he saw something so easily coming at him, he's like, what's going on right now? Why is Max doing this? Like, why am I allowed to gain on him so much? And there were so many thought processes of like, do I go? Do I not go? Am I going to get a penalty? Are we on the virtual safety car? Are we under safety car? Is something happening up front that I don't know? Like, there's a lot of thought processes that are happening in that 150 feet. And 150 feet at 200K is going to go by pretty quickly, right? So it's a thought process of, I think, one, because he's so cautious around Max, it was one of those, I'm not going to go because I don't know what's going to happen. And two, why is he doing this, right?
Your natural instinct as a racing driver is go around that guy, get in front of that. But there were so many things leading up to that. I honestly think initially he might have just thought there was another virtual safety car, and he's just like, all right, let me just back.
It hasn't come up on my screen.
And he just has to like look at his, and then he's like looking down to see what's going on his delta, on his wheel, and he's trying to figure it all out. And then now we know that there was a push of the brake,
a couple pushes of the brake, and Max. I think Max would have been fine if there wasn't that last minute swerve. When he did hit the brake, there was like a last-minute swerve that put Lewis right into him. And, they had the data. It showed, like, he had more force in the straightaway than he did actually going into the next corner because he was just, like, slowing up more. And, when you have a spike that early on a straightaway, you're stroke breaking the guy. Sorry to say. And then he didn't help his case by the next time he let him by, he did probably the same thing that he was trying to do.
And then he took him over again right away.
Exact same thing that he probably was trying to do the lap before, or a couple laps before, when he did the slowdown. I think if he hadn't done the exact same move when he let him by the next time, it's like, okay, clearly you were trying to do that the last time, but it went wrong and you ran into Lewis, and Lewis ran into you. I think also, hey, kudos for Red Bull for thinking about that if they ever had to let Lewis by, to do it that way. He did want Lewis to go by him before the DRS zone so that he can pass him back down the straightaway again. And hey, good job for him thinking that. I think it wasn't executed, obviously, very well. And at that point, if Lewis knew that he was going to pass him and Max was going to let him by, he probably would have taken that, because he would have been like, okay, Max is letting me by, I got to go now. But at that point, too, Max is slowing down so much going into that area that if Lewis had just went to the inside and passed them, I think, Lewis would have had a big enough gap going into the corner that Max would not have been able to pass him the next straightaway. The FIA has access to the entire data system that's in the car. So when they figure out what's going on, or they want to find out what happened with the inputs of the driver, to the impact of the car, to everything, they can figure it out to the millimeter of what happened. And they looked at his data after 40 minutes after the race. They pulled Max in, pulled his data, looked at everything, and they were like, you definitely spiked the brake, and Lewis ran into you. Like, it was spike of a brake and the contact. If the officials didn't see that, they would have been like, okay, Lewis, you just ran into him. Sorry, like, you should have done something different. But the fact that it was like a huge spike to the brake right before Lewis actually hit him, it shows that he was trying to, I don't think he was trying to make contact. I don't think he was trying to be malicious of crashing Lewis, but I also think he was hoping that jerk put Lewis to the other side and made him go around the outside when he slammed on the brake. I don't think yeah, you never know. Like, he could have been like, screw it, I'll just damage his car and then keep going. But at that point, you are risking your own win, and you're still in a manufacturer battle at that point, and you need to finish up front. So I think, yes, the officials are definitely clamping down on Max now, because they're like, look, that was dangerous, man. Like, that was really dangerous.
But look, that is the incident that I'm talking about, and that's the incident that's drawing the most attention. Yeah. What I'm really asking about is the other stuff.
Yeah.
Like when Hamilton does the bullpen interview and he says, "Look, man, I do my best to keep it within the lines."
Yeah.
Right. There's a reason the racetrack is painted with lines.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's more or less what I'm asking, because, you know, if you can't, Max is, it almost appears like he doesn't want anybody to get past him,
yeah.
which is true. You're not supposed to want anybody to get past you, but you got to play within the confines of the rules of the sport. Yeah. And going back to Brazil, like it almost seems like Lewis said it too. You know, the rules don't apply to him, or at least that's the perception of it.
Yeah.
So what did they do to correct that? Like the incident and the accident. Okay, that's like, all right, you go to the principal's office, explain yourself.
Yeah.
You know, but just the stuff where nothing happens.
Yeah.
But it ruins the race.
Yep.
For somebody. Like
they do need to. They're gonna have to just to tell him, like, this is not what we're here to do. Like, we're not here to blow the limits of the track in order to keep a guy behind me. You know, race each other hard so that the fans are happy. And yes, you know, they might like the controversy to kind of help build the ratings and stuff like that, but at this point it's dangerous. Like, all three of the pass attempts by Lewis was lunges back from Max that he was not making the corners. Like, there was not a chance that any lunge back towards Lewis was not. He had no chance of making the corner. He was just like, I need to keep Lewis behind me, and I'm going full speed into this corner to keep him behind me. And at this point, like, when they see stuff like that, the officials will have to be like, Max, like, you are going to keep getting penalties left, right, and center if this is the case, because you're not, like you said, racing in between the lines. You're racing on the green part of the track and the brown part of the track and the runoff part of the track where you're not supposed to be. And a lot of his lunges, there was not a chance he would have made the corner. And it's just like, okay, whatever. And then Horner's like, oh, they're both racing hard at that point. I don't know about that. That is Max saying, I don't have anything to lose, and I'll just drive straight into the corner, below the corner.
I'm comfortable with a crash.
Yeah, I don't care at this point. I have more wins than him, so even if we are tied after this, I have more wins. I will take the championship, and I'm leading the championship. So in the end, they crash out. Sorry.
Okay.
It's all on you.
So we go into Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
This is the final race now. Tied.
Yeah.
Dead even.
Yep.
It looks as if Mercedes has pulled the gap on Red Bull for the constructors.
Yeah.
Provided Bottas is able to perform at a decent rate next weekend, they should be able to hold that. We're dead on points in the Drivers' Championship. Max leads because he has more wins. But he has this mentality going into the final race.
Yeah. Nothing to lose.
What happens, though? What happens? Let's paint the hypothetical that nobody wants to see because it would tarnish a brilliant season in Formula One. But he was going in there knowing that it doesn't matter if I crash, I'm still going to win. Like, is there any way to regulate that to let them know, hey, you guys have to race fair this race?
If the only thing they can do is, honestly, I can see Max doing it, who cares? Let me just take this guy out and then the championship's done. But if they do that, the FIA has been cracking down, and the FIA could take championship points away as part of a penalty.
As drivers?
Drivers' championship points could be taken away as part of a penalty. They give this whole, license points and stuff like that because you miss a race if you do this. But if it's bad enough, they can say, no, you're losing 5 championship points. So I think they have to have that talk with Max before and be like, hey, man, if this happens and it's dangerous, sorry, man, like, this isn't a crash fest for the championship. This is a race each other hard, and let's see who the best man wins. Let's see what.
And that's really where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Like, the last race of the season is exactly the same as the first race of the season. It is 0-0.
Yep.
Which is outstanding.
Exactly.
Which is outstanding. Yeah. I think going into this season, a lot of us were pretty much like, yeah, Mercedes is going to dominate again. But then we've got this great title fight.
Yeah.
And not only that, we've got this animosity building between two characters. One's looking to make history. One's looking for his first world championship. Like, there's so much going on.
Yeah.
Then we got the team principals getting in the mix with the gossipy headlines.
Yeah.
And, like, like it's a grudge match,
to
say the least. Going into Abu Dhabi, I got to ask you at this point, who do you think has the advantage?
Honestly, right now, I think honestly Mercedes and Lewis have the advantage just because they've been so strong. They've been so fast. They've been consistent. They're always up front. They have their strategies in order. I think Max and Horner are kind of on the back foot, like, holy crap, like, we got to do something crazy in order for this championship to be ours. And if it was to go blow for blow, I don't think the Red Bull has the speed. I think that what they'll do again is make sure that Max is on pole or have a car that's set up for qualifying so that he can get on pole, and then they'll deal with the race stuff because, one, they need to be ahead of Lewis to start the race in order to control him, or else Lewis is gone. Like, if he gets into that zone and Max can't keep with him, he's gone.
Checked out.
It's over. And if Max can get in front of him off the start, he can control Lewis, and he knows at that point Lewis is not going to take a risk, because if they crash out, Max wins. So it's going to be a pit stop strategy or whatever it's going to be to get around Max at that point. And really and truly, it's I hate to say it, but I see Max just crashing Lewis. Like, I really do. I hate to say it.
I know.
I don't want it to happen.
We don't want it to happen, but it's not far-fetched from reality.
No, and especially how he's driving. He will put himself in the situation where Lewis absolutely has to back out and either put himself in a wall or take them both out in order for him to keep Lewis behind him. Because right now, Mercedes is the car to beat. Yes, Max had a stellar flyer in that qualifying lap, but I think the car is set up for qualifying at that point. And I also think, Max it suited, the first sector suited Max so well. Like, he was on the limit.
He was pulling half a second in there.
Always.
Lap after lap. Half a second is a lot.
That's huge. And I think it's because he was leaving nothing on the table.
You just said that, and it just brought me to Horner's post interview, where he said the driver is
everything and the car is
in the first. Anybody could drive it. I'm like, dude. This guy's a 7-time world champion.
Yeah.
Man. What are you talking? Anyway,
but that's all mental games again. Man.
But
that's
all
all
he ain't
mental
going
games.
for that. Ain't nobody going for that. Anyways, going back to the final race here, we spoke a lot about what Max is going to do. How much do you think experience is going to play in on Lewis's side? Having been there, done that, been under pressure, over pressured, one with no pressure, like had some feisty teammates in the past, with Alonso, like. How is he approaching this final race?
I honestly think he's more relaxed now going into this than he is any of those other ones, because he was always battling teammates. And when you're battling your teammate, they're on the same equipment as you, and it comes down to what happens between you two. Now he knows that he's battling someone else with a different manufacturer, and he understands where their weaknesses are, where their strengths are. And he can look at a track like Abu Dhabi, who has favored Mercedes a lot in the last couple of years.
It's a little different now, though.
Yeah, they changed. So we don't know exactly.
But traditionally speaking.
Yeah, traditionally speaking, the Mercedes is a little bit quicker there. But, with this new car and as a high-speed tracks, it's not like Red Bull was a slouch. So at this point, I think he's a little bit more relaxed because he has his teammate on his side instead of against him. It's a little bit easier for him to get into something like this where, all those past years when he was battling Rosberg and Alonso and having his teammate be the only guy that will keep up with him and go after him.
It's different. You can't
it's
just
a little
crash
bit more
out
laid
on
back.
that one.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit more laid back. So I think, yes, there's always going to be in the back of his head, like, this kid's crazy. He's probably going to crash me. But also he has to go into the weekend knowing that they have almost as much to lose now as you do, because it's whoever wins this race. And up to this point, Red Bull was kind of like, haha, like, we've got this, we're good, we're 4 races ago, we thought Max had the championship, no problem.
We did. I can't remember what race it was. America,
yeah.
We came back after Coda like, bro,
this might be it.
Is this it?
Yeah. And
to their credit, Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton, he's a fast driver, and he probably would have finished P2 for the rest of the season, but to put together the package in this final stretch has just been something incredible.
Yeah.
Contrary to popular belief, there were 18 other drivers on the grid.
Yes, there was.
So underwhelmed, surprise.
Overwhelming was Ocon, man. I love it.
Good for him.
I wish he got that podium. I really do.
It was heartbreaking.
That was. Hey, at that point, it's you defended into the last corner. You came out a little bit tight. He just got a little step out.
He got squirrely.
He got a little squirrely, and
as he banged through a couple gears too. It wasn't just like one. It was like
So at that point, it's tough when you're battling the Mercedes. That's one of the straight line cars right there, and you had a bobble and you were tight coming out. it is what it is. He battled as much as he could to keep Valtteri behind him. It was good. Can't complain for Ocon for being the overwhelming. The underwhelming, I'm gonna have to say Norris, man. That he just kind of complained about being at the back because of the tire choice the whole time, but a lot of other guys had the same cards dealt to them, and they got back to the top 10 or whatever, and he just kind of sat around in 15th and just sat there. So with his teammate finishing in the top top 6.
Yeah, Denny had a good race.
Yeah,
I was actually surprised.
Yeah,
he was there in 5th row. I was like, whoa, because he didn't have a good quali or so.
And that's my surprise right there. Was Danny Rick.
Okay.
He was just kind of sitting under the radar, sitting in the top 5 for the entire race. He was one of the guys that stayed out and didn't get the tires, and it ended up helping him in the end, and it kept him in the top 5. And to show that his car can stay there and run with those guys, and he was kind of catching that Ocon Bottas battle for a little bit, and it was really good to see him up there. I was happy and surprised.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
The first ever Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We didn't even discuss the social matters in regards to the Saudi thing, but for another podcast.
It was good to see Vettel with.
That's the one thing
really
I do want to. I want to bring him up.
The females into the karts and doing a female-only race.
Yeah,
and this shows him and Hamilton have been very outspoken about rights around the world everywhere they go. And Hamilton even said he feels uncomfortable coming to Saudi Arabia just because of the rights they have there. And for them to speak up and for him to wear the rainbow helmet in Saudi Arabia, and win. That's a big statement right there for a country that is so against stuff like that. And for Vettel to be like, I'm going to do a race, and I'm only going to have females allowed in it, and I'm going to push that females have the same rights as males, and it's
commendable to say the least. And let's hope that the positioning of Formula One going to a place like Saudi Arabia is for the right reasons, to stimulate some sort of change within the culture over there. As we look forward to the final race, the final round, Abu Dhabi, we'll do this one more time. Hey, you guys in the back got anything to add? That's Sean and Big Timmers in the back, man.
That's Papa Timmers and Sean working away on that sim over there.
Yeah. So if you guys want to do any sim stuff over the weekend, any kart rebuilds or anything like that, be sure to reach out to Daryl at Pro Racing Ontario. Thanks once again. It was another great episode, and we look forward. This is like once in a lifetime.
Yeah,
it might be the last time we go into the final round of the Formula One Championship where the top 2 drivers are neck and neck.
Yeah.
So this needs to be treated like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
This is going to be epic. Like, epic. And we cannot complain that this was the first season of another race weekend.